of the ACT reading review. So we'll go over all the other strategies in a moment, but first I'd like you to take 2 minutes to start the bell ringer. I gave you a post-it note if you can write your answer on that. So here is the question, and this is the passage which it pertains to. So number 13, it says, the author uses the remark, the worst rainstorm in memory, line 28, primarily as an example of. Then it gives you the select choices and the section. So go ahead, take about 2 minutes to respond to that. Remember, on your notes, you can do process of elimination if you want to write A, B, C, D. Remember, if you don't know, guess, because on the ACT, you're not allowed to leave anything blank. We have about 30 seconds left. Start making your guesses. You have a few more seconds. Okay. All right. So, did anyone pick the letter A? Raise your hand. B. 1B. C. 2 C's and D. Wait, D. Oh, you picked C? Okay. All right. So, actually, guys, the answer is D. So, we're going to break down why. Now remember, this is a line question, so on the ACT, these are really useful and helpful, as we see in a moment, to save time and be more efficient when we're searching for our answers. So we're going to go straight to line 28. Actually, we're not going to go straight to line 28. We're going to read the sentence before and after, which is what I gave. So we have, chronicles like those of the 18th century diarists, John Evelyn, or monastery scribes, are invaluable for their remarks on unusual weather. So what does invaluable tell us about what they say about unusual weather? When something is invaluable, what does it mean? Or what? Huh? It's important. Like, you can't even place a number value on it, like a monetary value. It's really, really important. But, so, what does but tell us now?
They're going to talk bad about it.
Yeah, they're going to like change it, like say something bad about it. But their usefulness in making comparisons is limited. So here's the problem. Remarks like the worst rainstorm in memory or hundreds of fishing boats overwhelmed by mighty waves do not an accurate meteorological record make. So they're saying that these remarks do not make a good record. They're not accurate enough, even if they made a deep impression at the time. The traumas of extreme weather events fade rapidly from human consciousness. So think about when someone says something exaggerated like, oh, I was so hungry, I could eat like a whole refrigerator. Like, that doesn't really give you an amount of how much I can read. Like, it might tell you, like, she's really hungry. I mean, eat. It might tell you that I'm really hungry, but it doesn't give you, like, a good measurement of how much I could actually eat. That's similar to what they're saying here. It doesn't make a good measurement. So now, let's go up here. Why did the author include this quote? So A says, the kind of well-meaning but ultimately useless record of unusual weather that Evelyn kept. So, that might kind of be true, but let's keep looking. In B, it says how people in the 18th century were deeply impressed by unusual weather. Does it say in this section how they were impressed by the weather? Not necessarily. Like, it did show them that, but that's not the point, because look at what it says afterwards. It doesn't make an accurate measure. This is the focus of why he's using it. So you got to take out B. And C, it says people's preoccupation with carefully rating and comparing unusual weather events. This is a huge distractor. Here it doesn't talk about how they're preoccupied, how they're like obsessed and concerned with it. So you got to take out C. This is here to trick you. And then D, how notes people in the past kept about unusual weather are of limited meteorological value today. So they were kept, but today they're not enough. See how they use the word limited here? And they use the word limited right here. So it doesn't give them as much as they need. Just like here it says, it doesn't provide an accurate measurement. Okay? So this was just the bell ringer, but we're going to break these down a little more now. Switch. Okay. So what we're going to be working on, you'll be able to effectively annotate the passage of the reading section of the ACT by using the keywords and phrases in the questions as a guide. So we're calling this strategy number 2. So for those of you that have been in my class before, you're familiar with strategy 1, but I'll go over it just in case. So basically what this helps you do is save time from having to reread questions and the passage. Because with the ACT, it's different from the FCAT. You only have 35 minutes, 40 questions, and 4 passages, not 3.5 hours to do the whole thing. And while you're doing this, you're going to be able to answer questions as you read, which means you don't have to remember every single question or every single paragraph. It's a little bit easier for you to go back and forth. Okay. So all I need for you guys to do is to track me, work independently unless I tell you to work in a group. Use your pens and pencils to annotate the questions and passages and ask questions if you don't understand. All right, so the first part is to strategy number 2. You can go ahead and write this on your Post-it note if you like, or on your test that I provided you with. So you're going to read the questions first. That is absolutely essential. And you're going to circle and underline the keywords in the questions, which basically means that then those same keywords and questions are what you're going to underline as you read the passage. So we're going to be using the questions as a map. So if I were to give you a map of a country you've never heard of, how do you know what the capital is? As a star, a symbol, or like a river, it's the blue line. So that's how you're going to use your questions. It makes it easier for your eyes to find the answers. So that's why whatever you circle in the question is what you're going to circle in the passage. And then as you start reading, then you're going to answer the questions as you read. So the line questions, those are the most important. They're the easiest for you to find and easiest for you to answer. Once you see the line question that says, just like this one in line 28, what I would want you to do is go to the passage and write in line 28, next to it like a star, and put number 26, whatever the number of that question is. That way, once you read that section, all you have to do is go straight to the question, answer it, done. You never have to think about it again. It makes it so much easier. Be mindful of keywords and the hinge words. So the keywords are the ones in the questions. And then the hinge words are the but. You saw how you knew immediately that they were going to say something bad about the diary entry? That is the hinge word. So, and like I said a second ago, you should be able to answer about half of them by the time you get to the end. So that leads me to the next slide. If you haven't copied all this down, don't worry about it. They're also here on the board. So some important things to know. What are the keywords and phrases? They're names, dates, person, places, numbers, nouns. Definitely things in quotation marks. The line or paragraph references. And then these are super important because these will trip you up as you're taking the test because of time and you kind of like read over it real fast. The nots and the excepts. Okay? Can't miss these because you'll get an easy question wrong for no reason. The hinge words, not, yet, but, if, however, therefore, all of those transition words that indicate a switch of idea. Yeah?
Can I list that?
Yes, go ahead. Okay, so words that indicate a transition or change. And then this last little tip. You are only looking for the phrases that are going to appear in the passage. So when you're looking at the question stem, you don't need to circle or underline according to the author. Yes, that's what the question's asking you to do, but you're never going to find that in the story. The story is never going to say the author says this. So don't waste your time reading those. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Oh, last tip. Remember there are two types of questions. So a second ago I said half of the questions should probably be answered by the time you're done reading the passage. The other half are like main idea or author's purpose questions. Like there's no way you can answer that until you're done. So you have the whole passage and the excerpts. These are your line questions. So keep in mind that you're not going to do all of them. The ones that you want to do by the time you're done are all those line ones. Okay, so if I was reading this, I would look at the question first. The main function of the second paragraph, lines 20 to 29. And I would circle second paragraph, 20 to 29. So that's what I have up here. Now, if I know I'm looking for the main function, I just got to think about the main idea. So let's read. It was during the 1920s and 30s that Armstrong's reputation took off. He set the music scene in his hometown of New Orleans on fire before traveling to Chicago in 1921 to join his mentor, the cornetist King Oliver. For a year, he went to New York, where he joined Fletcher Henderson's jazz orchestra and turned the rhythm of the music around with his conception of playing with a swinging beat. Now, almost a national musical terror, Armstrong returned to Chicago, then finally settled in New York. So, what words and phrases should I have circled or underlined while I was reading? The what? The year, so 20s, 30s, and then it was specific here with 1929. What else?
1921.
Where? Yeah, 1921. What else? So we have the years, the dates.
Oliver.
Oliver, yes, King Oliver. You're missing one before that one. Armstrong, yes. And places. So New Orleans. What other places did they talk about? Chicago, New York. And then one more person that we forgot.
Fletcher Henderson.
Yes, Fletcher Henderson. So now it's easy for our artists to find these names should they appear in other questions too. So what is the main idea of this paragraph? So I would be thinking to myself, well, they're talking about his career. They're giving all the places that he went to, some of the people that he worked with, and the years. And it ends with saying that he finally just stayed in New York. So early on, between 20 and 30s, he was kind of traveling all over the place. So now, let's look at the options. So F says, identify some of Armstrong's mentors, such as King Oliver. Does this happen?
No.
Well, wait, it does
identify it, but that's not the main point of the main passage.
Exactly, that's not the main point of the passage. So this is a huge distractor. G, list some of the early events in Armstrong's developing career.
Which it had, it did.
It has, so let's,
It's amazing.
it's a maybe. H, contrast Armstrong's opinion of King Oliver and Fletcher Henderson.
No.
That's a no. So they're just trying to throw you off with the names, but there's no comparison being made. J, describe the musical style Armstrong developed jointly with Fletcher Henderson. So if we go back, remember we circled the passage, it's right here.
Where he joined Fletcher Henderson Jazz Orchestra and turned the rhythm of the music around with his conception of playing with a swinging beat.
So what you have to ask yourself is that the main function of the second paragraph? So you narrowed it down to G and J.
And I don't think it's J, I think it's G.
Correct.
It was just a sentence saying that when he did join him, because he was already doing music before.
Right, and it's not the whole, there's only one sentence on that. Throughout though, you have the different places and the different dates and the different people he worked with. So it is G. So if you guys go to your passage, you can mark 24, G. I probably should have asked you to circle it. So, without reading the passage, we've already answered one question, and we've only read this part. Okay, so now let's try this one together. So look at number 26 and 27 on your paper. So, the question's done. The last paragraph establishes all of the following about Armstrong except. What keywords and phrases should you circle or underline in that question?
Except
Except. What else? Last paragraph and
Armstrong.
Armstrong. So what's the next thing you need to do now? And write number 26 next to it. And if you choose, It depends on how you're pressed for time. Personally, I would just read all of the questions first and do this process instead of stopping now and going to look at the paragraph. Okay? But for the sake of what we're doing, let's look at 27. One of the main points in the last paragraph is that through his music, Armstrong attempted to promote in his listeners a sense of. So in number 27, go ahead and circle the keywords and phrases, which are?
Main point,
Uh-huh.
last paragraph,
Listener and Armstrong. So just by reading the last paragraph, we're going to answer 2 of them. So if you go to the last paragraph, you could put 27 next to it. Now, let's go ahead and practice actually responding. So, as you read that paragraph, and you have it in front of you, go ahead and circle the exact same keywords and phrases that you saw in the question in there too, along with any other name, date, or important pieces of information. All right, so I'll read the paragraph out loud. To get right down to it, no one in jazz ever played with greater emotional range than Armstrong, whose New Orleans experiences meant that he worked everything from christenings to funerals. In the streets, he picked up all the folk chants and songs. While traveling around town, he heard traces of French and Italian opera that suffused his sensibility and his memory. But beyond all that, what Armstrong wanted to give his listeners was the kind of pleasure music gave him, which is what most artists are after. When he wrote or talked of New Orleans, of being out there with his horn or following the parades or listening to mentors like Joe Oliver, Armstrong never failed to project a joy so profound that it became an antidote to the blues of daily living. He had a determination to swallow experience whole and taste it all, and only then to spit out the bitter parts. Okay, so let's look at 26. Did you go ahead and circle and underline as you read?
yes.
Okay, so 26. The last paragraph establishes all of the following about Armstrong, except, so we need to find the one that is,
What they mentioned.
right, not mentioned. So if it's there, just put a check. That way you know you did read that. So F says his strong desire to reshape American music. Did he have a strong desire to reshape American music?
Yes.
Where?
Is it the first sentence?
To get right down to it, no one in jazz ever played with greater emotional range.
Whose New Orleans experience meant that he worked everything from Christianing to funerals.
That exit out J.
Huh?
That exit out J.
So that cancels J out?
Yeah.
Okay, so J was talked about. But F, I don't think we've gotten F yet. Let's see G. His cheerful demeanor and sense of mission.
Yeah, that one. Is it, but beyond all that, what Armstrong wanted to give his listeners was the kind of pleasure music gave him, which is what most artists are after.
Yeah, so then that one's all right. And then the last one, H, the range of influences on his music.
Being out there with his horn or following the parade or his listening to that joke, Oliver Armstrong never felt to project joy so long.
Right, and if you go further up, where it says he heard traces of French and Italian, so those are other influences. So then which one was not mentioned? F. You know why F kind of tricked you in the beginning? Because even he did reshape American music, but it wasn't his desire. That wasn't his goal or purpose. So even though it's just the wording, it's one of those distractors. Okay, the last one, 27. One of the main points in the last paragraph is that through his music, Armstrong attempted to promote in his listeners a sense of, is it awe, determination, pleasure? What did you say?
Pleasure.
Pleasure, yeah. And if you go back, a couple of you read the sentence already.
Yeah.
It says the pleasure music gave him. Okay, so we've read 2 paragraphs and I've answered, nope, three, because of the first one that we did. Okay. All right, so this one I want you guys to try on your own. So look at number 29 and 30. We'll give you 5 minutes, okay? Look at the questions and then read it and answer them. last one? You can write on the packet, it's on yours. Oh, yeah, it's yours, it's on there. Yeah. You have about 2.5 minutes left. question stem.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, line 53 to 57. And on 30?
I'm gonna put best describes, the fifth paragraph, and it says starts a swing of 58 through 71.
Right, and remember, after you circle that, go to that paragraph and put like 29 and 30. That way you know which questions to come back to. Otherwise, it's like a wild goose chase. You're starting to read all the questions. It's super annoying. So, but yes, you were right. 29 was A. Okay, his highly developed skill. Now, what told you that it was the skill? You had to infer a little bit.
Because when I had circles here,